So the ACLU and our coalition partners, New Jersey United for Marijuana Reform, several months ago, back in March or February, we had a public forum, much like this, right down the street at Essex County College, where we talked about this, where we talked about all of the opportunities that are actually available in the cannabis space that don't require $2 million for startup capital, right? So we want to make sure that everybody is thinking about outside of the box, and take what you actually do, take what you're passionate about, take what you're already good at, just apply it to cannabis. There's opportunity there, but we still need some amendments. And Assemblyman Hawley was absolutely right. Senator Scuteri has been adamant he's been open from the very beginning that he knew his bill was not perfect, that he wanted to hear from people about what changes need to be made. Same thing on when Assemblyman Busiora was trying to get was involved in the conversation as well. So we need to make sure that, for example, application fees. We need to make sure it doesn't cost $50,000 just to apply for a license, right? We need to make sure that the barriers are low and accessible to everyday New Jerseyans, to communities all across this state. And so these are the things that need to happen. Your lawmakers need to hear from you so that they know that those are the things to push for. Because Assemblywoman McKnight and Assemblyman Hawley cannot be the only ones standing firm on this issue. They have been wonderful in saying that I will not vote for a bill that doesn't have concrete racial and social justice, but they can't be the only ones to do it. All of you, no matter whether you're from Newark or East Orange or wherever you come from, all of you need to make your voices heard, contact your lawmakers so that they know you need to be voting, you need to be pushing for these things too, because we cannot, as Mayor Baraka said, we cannot have the train leaving the station without us on board as well.
Just real quickly, the young man mentioned that there are 6 applications out there, right? You mentioned that there's 6 applications for medical facilities. There were no meetings like this for medical marijuana. There were no community forums about medical marijuana. So there is no current social equity program for medical marijuana. We missed out. We missed out on that aspect of it. So that's why it's important going forward that there was a social equity discussion to ensure that we don't miss out again. Because you don't have to be in support of adult legalization, but how can you not be in support of social equity? Social equity is for all of us. So when this happens, that's the whole purpose for having social equity, so that we're not left out of the conversation like we were with them.
I just want to add, in reference to us pulling together our resources, that's one thing some of us failed to do, because the applications were $50,000, but there's a lot of us in this room. So we need to begin to pull our resources together. Let's create an LLC so that we can be part of the table. And as far as education goes, I'm working on a bill so that we can have a robust education, but until we have it legalized, it can't occur. So we receive resources from Colorado, from California, that my staff and I are diving in. So I'm doing what I need to do. Holly is doing what he needs to do. The senator, we were at his office talking to make sure that the social equity part is part of it. Because I will not vote for a bill that does not include social equity and expungement. So we just have to begin to work together collectively. We can agree to disagree. And yes, there are some people that's not with it. But you know what? The train has already left. So we need to get on the train so that we can make sure that our communities benefit and not lose out again, like alcohol and like the lottery. This is the last thing that I see within the next 20 years, that if we are not on the train and we're not working collectively together as a community, we will miss the boat.
Assemblyman Howard will be here for this last question.
Thank you. Respect to the brother. very valid issues, and respect to all of you seated here at the panel. Honorable Mayor Baraka, Assembly Persons, Ray Hamlin, ACLU, Steve Byrne. Appreciate this. My questions are around very specific movements, very specific things that can be done. Kind of voicing similar concerns to the brother right here. I mean, I'm a resident of Newark, a serial entrepreneur, education entrepreneur, financial entrepreneur, and I represent some partners who are already owners in medical marijuana testing labs out of state, as well as opioid testing labs, minority-owned opioid testing labs here in New Jersey. So we have formed a plan to actually attempt to put forth an application. Now, of course, the request for applications just came out July 16th. And so essentially there's a 1,000-point plan that you need to address. And, clearly, August 1st is the date when they release the applications. And I'm sitting here with the request for application. Clearly the 1,000 points, which pursuant to NJAC 8.64-6.2 are, the ability to meet the overall health and safety, the needs of the qualified patients, past business experience, cultivation, security, and they assign various point structures to that. And it's a very comprehensive, robust plan that's being required. Now, then the date of the due date for this 200 plus, plan, 200-page plus plan with all supporting documentations and certifications, what have you, would be August 31st. Well, I mean,
talk about it.
So clearly, that's just a description of the barriers to entry that we talked about, right? But I've heard some wonderful things. I've heard about community reinvestment. I've heard, you talked about capital formation. Clearly, these are the kinds of things the brother broke down the investment banking, valuation of an entity that's of this magnitude. The question is, how can we? Because I'm not really prepared to give up on getting in on medical. Good point that this ship is sailing, but I really do believe it. And since you made a solid point about getting together and forming LLCs and actually approaching these things directly and specifically, and kind of bringing forth various sets of expertise to build a team. But I think it's still possible. I mean, we've got a good amount of transfer of credibility. Portions of this, at least in my group, and perhaps we can. What I'm seeking, it's just on a soapbox talking here. What I'm seeking is for ideas that maybe we can think outside of the box and come up with ideas that might take the form of, a venture capital kind of a fund or some kind of very specific fund that funds the formation of Newark residents coming together to put forth a solid application. And then beyond that, forcing the Department of Health to actually have solid representation amongst the applications. Like brother talked about there being 6 current dispensaries and then 6 new dispensaries that they're opening up for. But then they're also going to open up another request for application process in December or in the fall of 2018, and then again in the immediate near future. So the question is it conceivable that somewhere amongst us we can come up with some out-of-the-box style thinking around seeding potential ventures like this to go after these applications and get something done?
I think you bring up a very good point, and yes, you can. And there are organizations out there that are seeking individuals like you who want to help out with that particular situation that you brought up. But let me just clear some things for you. The 6 new medical licenses are just for medical. The government did an executive order to expand it for 6 more licenses. What you will see in the next coming months is that there are legislative bills that will expand medical marijuana itself for more licenses. There's currently a bill, in fact there was a meeting today, both with the Senate and the Assembly, to discuss the bill for medical marijuana expansion as well. What had happened is the governor saw a need, and the DHS saw a need, and they just allowed 6 licenses. But there are going to be more licenses. What I did in the original Sakari bill, there was a cap on licenses, cultivation. What I did was propose, lift that cap. allow the state regulators to determine the way that the market is going to allow more licenses in communities, in neighborhoods, and areas where there's a need for it. And so I'm looking for opportunity. You're looking for opportunity. It's out there. I just don't want you to get caught up with this particular 6 licenses that are occurring. With
By the way, I mentioned there's more coming.
There's definitely more coming. And in that bill,
Now's a good time for us to think about how we can be.
but I'm telling you now, in that bill that we're discussing right now with the medical marijuana expansion, we'll have a social equity plan.
By social equity plan, do you mean something that constitutes
Where minorities and women,
funds that will be
you
invested?
can't use funds at all. This will be derived funds that come from interest groups or individuals or investors that will assist you with those types of things. The New Jersey Cannabis Association, Brian can actually help you, with that and discuss those kind of opportunities with you. But yeah, we should definitely talk about that moving forward as well. But moving forward, there's going to be more licenses for medical marijuana. And the debate right now in Trenton with the medical marijuana bill is that it will include a social equity plan for women and minorities to have them incorporated into that and to give them actual points on the system.
There's
That
50
you
out
don't
of
see,
1,000
that you
that
don't,
are
that
currently
you.
here. It says diversity is like 50 out of
But that was
1,000.
done through executive order, sir. I want you to get the difference in what is an executive order that's done by the government and what lies in the hands of the powers of the legislators. You have myself and Angela advocating for you. That said that we know that this is not right now, but they saw a need. I gotta give the government credit, saw a need, took advantage of it. But at the end of the day, we hold the power versus what Colorado has not done. The power doesn't hold in the hands of the legislators in Colorado or California. They go through referendum. So every time there's a major change there, they gotta go through a vote and an election. What we have here now with the advantage that New Jersey has is that you have a one-on-one direct conversation with your legislator. And I'm not your legislator, I'm from Union County, but I don't mind having this discussion because your voice helps me and Angela and others get in that back room and continue to advocate for you. So I will tell you that the medical marijuana bill that's coming forward, that's being done right now with Councilwoman Danielson, I have that copy. He's asked me to include some more language to help him address some of the social equity problems. But I will tell you that the legalization of marijuana bill that eventually gets through on the recreational side will have an expungement and a social equity program, or it won't pass the New Jersey General Assembly or Senate, period.
I got you. One caveat, one thing I want to say is, can we take the 50 points and maybe get it up to 300? I'll be 1,000.
So, I think that we should also have a discussion offline that's outside of the legislative community about what we can do about what you talked about earlier, which I think makes sense, which is creating a seed fund, incubator fund, and we do for a lot of things. We got our initiative with CDC. We can talk about how that looks, what makes sense, how to create a fund to help people so they can incubate their businesses centered around this piece. And also a part of that, because right now we help people get bonding, we help people do all kinds of things through contracting and construction. So we can also provide, all kinds of training and skills about how to respond to these applications, how to access seed funding, all those things. I think that's possible, but that's not a discussion that we have with the legislative community, and that's something that we have, in the city, with the apparatus that we have, and all the folks that come to the meetings and stuff that are interested in business, figure out how we get a fund together so we can access the monies in this fund to incubate their own businesses. And that's possible. That's possible. We can do that.
One thing along those lines, there's a lot of things that can be done. There are a lot of different ways where the industry itself could be encouraged to provide for the funding of a vehicle that will incubate businesses, be able to transmit skill sets that are derived in states that have been legal to a state where there is not a capability to have had experience legally, as well as to gather funds and deploy those funds in the interest of some of those community issues. One big thing around these 6 licenses is evidently they are going to be monumentally expensive projects to undertake. Prohibitively so. But then again, 6 of anything doesn't really represent any one. It is based on truly a need that is a consequence of how many patients are seeking comfort from medical marijuana. But one major issue that goes hand in glove with any responsible social equity paradigm has to be that there is significant numbers of entry points into this industry that don't require the highest barriers to entry. And a vertically integrated license is the highest barrier to entry there is. It requires, I don't know, $15 million minimum, but if we look at the actual supply chain, and I understand that in many of the legislative pieces that we're looking at, and the regulatory pieces, and this is that detailed thing, we're understanding that there are entry points that are much lower barriers to entry, and those should be explored. In fact, I guess Daniel Simmons actually talked about micro licensing, co-ops, right? There are many, many ways that if we look at this supply chain that's going on in the cannabis industry, that it can be rationalized out to much lower price points. And if we are not afraid of having significant or appropriate numbers, not even close to what we have in liquor stores, but just appropriate numbers of industry operators, then we can actually make some real headway in making sure that there is real comprehensive inclusion. But when we talk about the anemic, tiny little numbers of industry participants, it's just gonna get soaked up. The money, the scarcity itself causes the barriers to go up because the competition goes up. And that 1,000 points, that 50 points on that 1,000 points are gonna be the hardest 50 points there are because all the rest are dialed in by the big companies, right? They're all gonna know how to come out with all those basic points. So not all of those points are equal. But how much better would it be if there was a real diversity of opportunity in the industry architecture that could be approached by communities at different price points and could receive funding it's a lot harder to get $15 million than it is to get $1 million in this industry, or $100,000. So if there are entry points along the supply chain for much lower price points, that could actually be really stimulative to the types of things that we're looking to have as far as some of the redress that we're talking about.
I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight. When the mayor's office reached out for me to join on the panel today, I'm hosting currently right now a fundraiser back in my new county. But I wanted to give some time. Again, this is the second time the mayor and I have been out on this type of forum to just talk about facts, talk about concerns. So I wanted to make myself available here tonight. But I'm going to leave you with my colleague, Meg, who's very close to the conversation here in the state of New Jersey. And there's also some representatives from the governor's office who is also here. But I'm going to leave some cards here. Please feel free to reach out as you continue to see this debate go on in the state of New Jersey. Feel free to reach out to my legislative offices. It's not over. I'm open to more conversations and more debates to ensure that our issues continue to be addressed. Again, Mayor, thank you for reaching out. Thank you for this forum. Thank you to my fellow co-panelists. But to thank all of you, I think this is one of the biggest groups that we've had thus far, and all the hearings that we've had here throughout the state of New Jersey. And it shows me that you're interested. It shows that you want your concerns addressed. And so I want to just thank you for the opportunity to be here for you in the city of Newark, New Jersey. Thank you. God bless.
Good evening, my name is Sean. Thanks everybody for coming out. Appreciate it. So my question is, after this bill is passed, how will we be protected on the federal level? It's one of my questions. And secondly, as far as the expungement goes, will there be multiple expungement be able to be expunged? Because I went to an expungement class and it was under the person that only be one. So are there going to be multiples, or are we working on that as well?
In reference to the expungement, Senator Cunningham as well as Senator Rice, they're working on some bills for expungement, and I'm also looking into that as well. And I know you said you have more, maybe you have more than one, and we want to make sure, in order for you to be able to say apply for, to be a part of the marijuana, we want to make sure that your record is sufficed. So we are looking into that. My chief of staff, Regina, if you can raise your hand, we can get my card from her, and we'll definitely reach out to you, and I'll reach back out to the mayor to let him know, but we are working on the expansion with Senator Cunningham as well as Senator Rice. And I'm gonna pass it over to Virgil for the federal.
Just to touch real quick on the expungement part, social equity was created for those that have been negatively impacted by the failed war on drugs. So that felony is a result of being negatively impacted by the failed war on drugs. Like I did in California, a felon or not can still participate and own and operate in the cannabis industry. So that's what social equity was truly and purely created for. So I just wanted to address that. On the federal level, it's called CJS Amendment. It was Robacher and Blumenauer, who created this bill that defunds the federal government for entering into any state that has the medical or adult use or recreational cannabis bill. Also in California, we have AB 1578. And that's a bill, that's a double layer bill that stops the local law enforcement from communicating with the federal government to do any type of assistance or tactical discoveries or anything in the state of California. So I would recommend that if you want to put that double layer protection, reach out to your representatives and ask them how can they mimic that that we did in the state of California.
So, I mean, I'm not gonna ditto on everything that they said, because what they said is absolutely correct. Just to add one piece, on the federalism question, Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General of the United States, exactly. We know he's a vehement opponent of marijuana legalization, and he has threatened to, earlier this year, he threatened to crack down on states that have legalized marijuana. But some of the biggest people who have stood up to that move were Republicans, right? So even from within his own party, we see a bipartisan support and standing firm on states' rights and states' ability to legalize cannabis in their own states. So politically, it's going to be very, very hard for the federal government to go into legalized states and then try to enforce federal prohibition laws there. Because right now, guess what? The IRS is making a ton of money off of this, right? Even if you are operating in a legalized state, and you have a business, and even if the federal government keeps marijuana illegal, you still pay taxes to the IRS, right? So the federal government stands to lose a whole lot of money if they ever decided, if they ever wanted to try to crack down on legal cannabis. But we know that politically they're going to have a very hard time doing so, because we're going to have bipartisan lawmakers standing up for states and saying, no, you cannot do this, and you won't do it.
I squeeze cat, 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 till my clip is empty. Till my clip is empty. I squeeze cat, till my clip